morning, sir.
Good morning.
The Quadrant Puzzles is an excellent book. It has a vision. It views development in multi-directions. Could you kindly tell us the aims and objectives of the book?
The aim of the book, right? First of all, it's to clarify my own thinking about the current confusions that we have. And in the process of clarifying for myself, I thought it should help the readers too. So primarily it's a book about how to reconcile between apparent opposites. The current times are really full of conflicts, and what can we do to actually reconcile between opposites? Essentially at the highest level, it's a bit philosophical. Humans are seeking after the basic biological needs. Humans are seeking something more beautiful and true. Very often we kind of dismiss these things in our kind of utilitarian world. So I'm trying to say that these pursuits are very germane to our existence and happiness. And this is essentially saying that in that pursuit of these things, we often somewhere we could get waylaid to pursue things which are not quite going to be happiness generating or satisfaction. So this book is really about the pursuit of happiness and how people could vulgarize that pursuit and get into trouble. So at the end of the day, it's saying that beauty and truth have to be. It's not descriptive. It's more about saying that it's very, very close to our hearts to see these things as humans. It's like the biblical story of biting into the apple. So we have this half knowledge, the rest of the knowledge we seek. So that part of that seeking is everything. It's probably not even finding it. So this book is really saying that, well, in that pursuit, there are different ways of pursuing it, and it's trying to reconcile between the authentic version of truth seeking and beauty seeking. Yeah.
What is the inspiration to write this book? Has any individual inspired you on this?
Yes. Well, actually, in the acknowledgement, I have written about the people who have inspired me. Individuals I have met, as well as people whom I have not physically met. So it's about people who really are authentic. So my homage is to people who are really authentic and pursue what they think is right. And sometimes one pays a price, a physical price, but at the end of the day, I think such are the people who actually are in a deep sort of way happy and who spread happiness. So it's the people I have met as my teachers, my parents, my relatives, my friends, you, everybody. Yeah. So people from the past. So it's an inspiration from my own experience, good and bad. And at the end of the day, I think we need to be optimistic about human destiny, wherever we are going. It's about learning from everything, from nature. So there's no one thing. I guess it's everything. It's pain and privilege of having met people and situations, everything.
What was your feeling when you started writing the book and once you ended it up?
Well, I started as a non-fiction actually. I'm a management academic, so we are very much into realism. I started writing it as a non-fiction. Then I realized a non-fiction will not be able to carry all that I want to say because I'll have to provide a lot of empirical evidence, evidence and so on. So I said, okay, let me use a different medium. I started off as a non-fiction and ended up as a fiction. Even after having completed the book, I didn't know whether it was going to be read by people. I knew it's good. It was a book that I valued, but I wasn't sure whether, because I'm not a fiction writer. So at the end of the day, I felt satisfied having written a book, but I wasn't sure whether people would read it. If they read it, they would enjoy it.
What was the opinion of the first reader?
The first reader of the book, a very interesting question. Well, I had given this manuscript to some people, but nobody, I think, really read it continuously. That's right. Yeah, the person who first told me who was this, my friend actually from Bangalore. I think he was the first person who gave me commentaries in the first few chapters. It was good. It was good. He gave me some wonderful compliments. Yeah. I respect his judgment. That's why I gave him the book also.
What kind of influence do you expect from the society by this book?
Fundamentally, I feel in the last 250 years, humanity has taken a different kind of a track, the so-called enlightenment that happened from the Western world. I'm not sure whether it's really enlightenment. It's essentially use of science to non-science issues. While I respect science and science methods of science, uh, I'm skeptical about use of the method of science in everything that we do. So we will not be able to enjoy life. We will not be able to be happy if we use this, a very um, what should I say, the scientific methodology of having to be always right, having to be kind of linear, having to be very square, if I may. So I think the influence hopefully should be one of being able to combine the humanities and the science. So hopefully people will become a little kindler and gentler to their own affairs, the way they do things, the way they deal with people, and ultimately look at our life as a very, very interesting, especially the knowledge world, as an interplay of science and art. So my hope is that this book will make people think in terms of trying to synthesize things rather than all the time dissect and analyze things.
Will you kindly tell us more about the book and the characters?
Well, sure. It's about a person who is actually a very solid person who is really sound in terms of having a good past background and opportunity to do good things. Coming out after brilliant academics, he has a master's in business administration, and he thinks he is doing the right things, and he gets taken in by the idea of marketization and corporatization and so on, and trying to bring down everything to monetary terms. And in the process of trying to create some opportunities, he is getting into some very, very draconian kind of situation. And in some ways, this is an exaggeration of what really happens in terms of opportunity management, like product obsolescence and so on, which we, the academics and management, talk about, which is actually creating a huge strain on the environment. So it's an exaggerated thing over here, where in terms of opportunity creation, and it's creating a really Frankensteinian situation, very, very what should I say, potentially dangerous situation. So this other guy comes in and kind of neutralizes this, the so-called hero, and in the process of doing this, he's actually discovering life. And of course, before, right in the beginning of the book itself, the person who's the hero, he is actually meeting his professor, and the professor is explaining him what science is and the limitations of science. So I wanted to convey that science is not everything, and even the greatest of scientists, in fact the greatest of scientists always recognize what science is and what it can do. In a nutshell, it's like saying that the issues of why we do certain things and what is the fundamental reason for doing certain things have to come from some kind of a spiritual impulse. But when it comes to how we do things, we need to be hard-headed, we need to be very scientific, we should be very causality oriented, what X causes Y. Once we have that scientific orientation, then we'll start getting results. But to decide what we should do, we need to have something else. We need to go back to ourselves as individuals, and not even get swayed by organized spirituality, but ask ourselves, what is the I'm seeking? So why questions and deeper what questions have to be answered by non-science, and how should be answered for the most part by science. So this book is about that, combining with the person's own experiences, and is actually solving 4 puzzles. Those 4 puzzles are essentially about truth and beauty in their authentic variant, and it's debased or vulgarated.
Is there a character to resemble with your person, sir?
Well, yeah, probably, yeah. All these characters, good and bad, I think the tradition that we have in our country is to say that I'm nature in a fundamentally, in a fundamental sense. So if we are nature, we have elements of everything in us. So we have elements of goodness, elements of badness, elements of ugliness. So all this is there. So in some ways, these characters reflect me, whether the hero as well as the anti-hero, and I think it reflects the other people also. So in some ways, yes, I'm constrained by the experience that I have, but I think this book has humanity in it in a way, in a humane sense, including everybody. And even this anti-hero, the villain, at the end, he transforms. So there is optimism, and I think the Aurobindoian view that man is a transitional being and man is transcending towards higher forms of consciousness. So I wanted to convey that in this book. So yes, there is me in it, but there are a lot of very, very interesting, outstanding individuals I have seen, whom I have admired, and also whom I have said, oh, if only he was not that. So all these are combined. So of course, I'm there yes, my own evolution in some ways is reflected.
Have you personally lived in Kolkata or Mumbai cities?
Yes, yes, both these cities. I studied near Calcutta. I was in Kharagpur, so I used to visit Calcutta, and I always thought, the intellectuals. And I was impressed by the intellect in Calcutta, though it's a dark one. It's not a city I would like to live in today, but yes, I went to Kharagpur because I wanted to go to West Bengal. And Mumbai, yes, Mumbai I think is a great city. It taught me a lot of things because I lived there for about 8 years, or more actually. I studied for 2 years, and my working life also was there. So yeah.
What are your future plans as a writer, sir?
Well, I don't have any. I don't have any aspiration to write a book based on if this book succeeds. If more people, I have no aspiration to write another book based on that. But I would like to write some. Actually, I would like to write some more, some stuff away from my management research, which is going to be probably some poetry. And it will be based on some people I admire from the past. So it probably would be transcendence poetry, if I may. If there's a genre called transcendence, something along Aurobindoian sense or something. Aurobindo used the word mantrik poetry. So I'd like to write mantrik poetry and kind of, in some ways, express deepest truths through such poetry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.